Hey man, this is R.C. Blakes, and I am so excited to be able to talk to you today along the lines of something that's dear to my heart. I just recently dropped my book, KINGOLOGY. Everybody knows about QUEENOLOGY. Clearly, that message has gone around the world, but now we're working on KINGOLOGY. And the subtitle says, The Return of the King. And my objective in writing this book, and what I'm going to do today, is basically just kind of read from a particular chapter and expound. But my purpose for writing the book is that I would like to, in my own way, help this generation of men return to what I call classical manhood slash kingology. You know, the concepts of a classical man, from my perspective, a biblical man, a king of a man, as opposed to a lot of the buffoonery that we see today that is paraded before us as manhood. And I think it takes a man to say to a generation of misguided men that you're probably, in fact, definitely you're off step with what the Creator designed or intended for you. You know, God intended for you to be more than a haircut and gold chains. God intended for you to be more than that. I know that, you know, I'm an older guy, and this is a new generation that has come on, and I guess that's my doorbell, and and you have your own style, you have your own swag, but I don't believe in any generation that God intended for you to walk around with your underwear showing. I believe that's the purpose of a belt. Why have on a Louis Vuitton belt with the big LV on it and it's hanging around your knees? See, these are conditions that are imprinted upon your consciousness and your subconsciousness through society. And it diminishes the excellent being you really are, the king you really are. You're a king, but the world will encourage you to dress like a jester, a clown. And so, you know, I mean, you may write me off, but these are my opinions. If you want to be in a room where you can make $1 million deals, you have to know the dress code, unless you're a rapper or a football player. And most of you all are neither. So if you're going to be in that room, you're going to have to know the dress code as a king. You're going to have to know the protocols. And so that's my purpose for writing this book. It's a return to classical manhood. The way I was trained, I had a great father who was a great man in every respect. He was a great husband. He was a great father. He was a great man. He was a man's man. He was a strong man. He had his money together. He had his spiritual life on point. He was a leader in his community. And so I'm just taking this occasion to share with you the principles that were poured into me and the stuff that I got a chance to observe. So I want to look at, and I would encourage you to go and get the book at Amazon. You can pick the book up at Amazon, or you can go to my personal web store, RCBLAKESJR.com. But in chapter 5, we talk about kings are intentional about relationships. Kings are not random or irresponsible in relationships. Kings are intentional about relationships. We are not random, nor are we irresponsible in terms of our relationships. Interesting observation I'm making starting this chapter out. It says, the wisest and wealthiest king of the Bible was Solomon. When Solomon took the throne, God asked him what he wanted. What do you want? Can you imagine that? You know, and I write this in the book. Can you imagine God, the creator, the omnipotent, the all-powerful one, saying to you or to me, what do you want? I'm going to give it to you. A less mature man would say, if you had asked me, if God had asked me that some decades ago, I would have said, man, I want a Rolex, I want a Rolls Royce, always had extravagant taste. I want a 20,000 square foot mansion, you know, drop me 15 mil in the bank. But when you read the account of Solomon in 1 Kings 3, 7 through 10, it says, and now, O Lord, my God, thou hast made thy servant king instead of David, my father. And I am but a little child. I know not how to go out or come in. And thy servant is in the midst of thy people, which thou hast chosen, a great people that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude. Give therefore thy servant. This is Solomon's answer to God's question, what do you want? I'll give it to you. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this thy so great a people? And the speech pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this thing. So whereas, you know, if God had asked you or I, and Solomon was a little boy, he wasn't a chronological man at the time, but he was behaving like a man, because manhood happens between the ears, not between the dates on a calendar, not between the sheets in a bedroom. Manhood happens between the ears. Manhood is psychological more than it is biological. And so Solomon demonstrates this when he says, give me wisdom and discretion concerning people. So Solomon says to God, I want to be able to manage all of my relationships right on every level. So I need you to give me wisdom and discretion concerning people. Now let me ask you a question. I know that we beat our chest and we call ourselves men, but when's the last time you really gave attention to wisdom and discretion concerning your relationships? And you know, when you think about it, what's destroying communities? What's destroying whole communities? It's the breakdown in the relationships between the men and the women. Now, in some communities, there are specific causes and reasons for this. But what's the cause when we're aware of the importance of these relationships, the importance of a husband-wife relationship, the importance of a father-children relationship, and we still do the less than wise or responsible thing? A king is known by his attention, or the attention given to relationships. And you'll notice when you read this book, Kingology, that I interchange the term man and king frequently. I use them as synonyms because, just like I say in Queenology, every woman's a queen, she's just not aware. Every man's a king, he's just not aware. Let's see. So Solomon prayed for discretion and wisdom to judge his relationships. So he was wise enough to know, Solomon was wise enough to know that people may attach. This is another reason you need discretion and wisdom concerning your relationships, because people may attach to a king that they might hitchhike a ride on your influence. If you're not wise and intentional in terms of who you let into your life, who surrounds you, who you connect yourself to, who you allow to attach themselves to you, you will find leeches riding on your life as a man and just leeching off of your influence and leeching off of your resources. Because when you think about it, many of a man's problems in life are for the people that he's surrounded by. How many brothers are in legal problems or in legal trouble right now, even in jail, for having done nothing but not have the wisdom to discern the people they surrounded themselves with. Some of you are watching this right now, and you're in the room with some people that you know you shouldn't even be around. And the people that matter most have said to you, and you're a grown man, and the people have said to you, this is going to end bad. But you see, manhood again happens between the ears. It's psychological more than it is biological. Now, it's important that a man understands the wisdom to discern relationships intentionally, because at the end of the day, a king has a multitude of decisions to make. And just about all of the king's choices will impact the stability of the kingdom. Knowing people is mandatory. Knowing a snake when you see one is mandatory. Knowing a bum when you see one is mandatory. Knowing a traitor when you sniff out one is mandatory. Because what happens to the king always impacts the kingdom. Well, I know how to play. I won't say I play because I haven't played in years. Can't seem to find many people in my in my circle that desires and knows how to play chess. And on the board, the king is probably the most boring piece on the board, but he's the most important. Because if the king goes, the game is lost. The kingdom is gone. And so a king has to make extremely wise moves, because if he loses, everybody loses. See, if you're just hanging out with people that have a criminal tendency and are more than likely going to have a visit from the police at some point, and you're over there every day, well, when you go down, Junior's going down, little Sally going down, wifey going down, mama going down, siblings going down. You don't go down by yourself. You drag everybody down. So a king conscious man, and I don't know why I'm stressing this, is very intentional about his relationships. Now, in the process, when we look at Solomon's prayer, he says, God, give me understanding that I may be able to discern people. What's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong. King conscious men always seek understanding. When's the last time you prayed to understand others? When is the last time you asked God to give you an understanding about your wife, your girlfriend, your children, your parents, your friends, your coworkers? No, most of the time we just run off with what we feel, how we feel, and everybody's supposed to, lockstep with that. When the reality is that kings always seek to understand, watch this, over being understood. When you really become a man in your consciousness, in your psychology, you begin to seek to understand those around you more than you're seeking to be understood. That's the key to a long and healthy marriage. It's when a man learns to seek to understand his wife rather than trying to force his position down her throat. He seeks to understand her. The man that seeks to understand will never have to fight to be understood. Because when you seek to understand those in your circle, they will always strive, they will honor you, and they will always strive to understand you, watch this, and to please you. Talking out of personal experience. When a man knows who he is and is secure in his power and position, he seeks to understand those whom he has oversight of, because kings rule with empathy. What is empathy? It's the ability one possesses to be able to understand and feel another person's position without forcing your selfish position, putting yourself in a place where you understand and you feel the other person's position. Now, let me read this. The previous statement alone challenges most of what we've been taught about being a man, talking about kings ruling with empathy. Society makes us believe that ruling is about enforcing our selfish will upon everyone around us. As a consequence, we feed the narcissistic gene that tends to reside within the male psyche. I believe I'm no therapist, I'm no psychologist, I'm no counselor, just a man and a preacher. But I believe within every man there is a socially conditioned gene, narcissistic gene that is planted in our minds. And what is that? What does that mean? That means we have the capacity within us to be so selfish and self-centered that we will hurt everyone around us. And that's from one degree to another, some more, some less. But every man, especially in my opinion, in the United States of America, has this tendency to be narcissistic. And when we destroy everything in our care, from our women to our children, to our friends, to our co-workers, and even to sibling relationships. Most men fail to understand that a king is not a tyrant. This is why I spend so much time building and pouring into the sisters. It's because I'm aware that generations of people just like me, dudes, men, we have destroyed the psyche of women. We have depleted the self-esteem of our women. We have broken the souls of our women. And therefore, it is our responsibility to replenish what we have destroyed. Every man that's watching me should have a heart that you're going to do your best to build women up at every turn. At every turn. Because a true king, remember I use the terms king and man interchangeably, as synonyms, one of the other. A true king is simply a powerful servant. When a king fails to understand the people he's assigned to, he breeds rebellion and dysfunction. You have to understand that the more power you're given, it means that the greater servant you are, the greater your capacity to what? Serve. So as I walk around this house, and I'm the man of my house, in every respect, you can call my wife and ask her. I'm the man of my house. I don't walk around like a tyrant. I respect my wife's opinion. In fact, about it, she makes most of the decisions. When I say, no, I want to do it this way, she respects that, and we do it that way. I ain't no punk by no stretch of anybody's imagination. No monkey man right here. I'm a real dude. I'm a real man. And I got a strong woman that honors me and submits to my leadership. But that's because I live as a powerful servant. I serve my wife. My wife doesn't just submit to me. I serve my wife. You know, I'm checking in with my wife, making sure that she's all right. Does she need anything? Does she need me to help her with anything? I'm not a tyrant. I'm a servant. I'm a servant leader as a man. And so that's how I build my relationships, as a servant leader, never as a egomaniac, never arrogant, and all of the other things that play into misogynistic culture, toxic manhood, toxic masculinity. When a man does not seek a sincere understanding of his people, he sets himself up for failure. For instance, the husband who does not understand his wife is destined for a quarrelsome relationship, and has nothing to be compared to a woman in rebellion. A father who doesn't seek to understand his children, to effectively guide them, will ultimately lose them. A co-worker that doesn't seek the well-being of those around him will always have contention. A boss that does not have a sense of empathy and seek to understand his employees will always be interviewing. Because when a man does not seek a sincere understanding of his people like Solomon did, he sets himself up for failure. Listen to what the Bible says in 1 Peter 3:7. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them, talking about the wives, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. He says, dwell with your wives according to knowledge. Now, where does this knowledge come from? This knowledge is largely attained through selfless observation of the wife's tendencies and her needs. You don't learn about your wife at the barbershop. Those dudes ain't married to your wife. You learn about your wife through observation. You should be learning about your wife to be, your girlfriend, through observation of her tendencies and a recognition of her needs. Every man should give himself to understanding his woman. I ain't giving myself to understanding no woman. I ain't no punk. Well, see, those kind of dudes there, they 50, 60, 70 years old, don't have no significant relationships. And when they really need some people around them to help them, they ain't got nobody because they've lived their lives foolishly. A wise man seeks not to run around and sleep around with all of these different women. A wise man seeks to find his wife and build a life. A fool is seeking a relationship with a woman for a night, while a wise man is looking for a relationship with a woman for a life. So a man gives intentional attention to the things that matter. And again, the foundation of classical manhood is selfless service to society or to others. Let's see, I have just a few minutes here. Let's talk about the king's vital relationships. Number one, a man's relationship with God. I'll read from the book. A man is never complete without his connection to God. Even in the beginning, Adam did not become vibrant until God breathed into him the breath of life. I am certain that men from a diversity of spiritual levels and persuasions are reading this book. Let me help you at this point. When I talk about a man and his relationship to God, I am not referring to religion whatsoever. Sometimes the most anti-God factor is religion. There's a vast difference between religion and relationship. The reason we have so many corrupt brothers in the church is because they are pursuing religion apart from an authentic relationship with God. Religion cannot transform. A man is only transformed by a relationship with Christ. You need to have a personal and a real relationship with the Lord for yourself. And watch this. That doesn't necessarily happen at an altar and in the church. Sometimes that happens right there in your bedroom, in your restroom, or in your car, or in the shower, you know. But at some point, every man has to come to a place where you seek the Almighty and you ask him to make himself known to you and make himself real to you. And you begin to develop a personal walk in relationship and fellowship with him for yourself. Now, let me see something here. And I go through the chapter. I'll let you read this when you get it. I talk about my own personal experience. When I found Jesus, I found myself as a man. I really didn't become a man until I moved away from religion, the Baptist religion. And I'm still Baptist in that sense, but I'm not religious, you know. It wasn't until I developed had a personal encounter with God that my life really transformed. And that's what I'm saying to you today in a nutshell. You need to seek a personal relationship with the Lord for yourself, that you might see your life transform. Number two, a man's relationship with his wife. Vital relationships, your relationship with God, your relationship with your wife. Every real man ought to be seeking to have a wife. I mean, unless you just, you know, don't want to be married, you know, for whatever reason. But in my opinion, if we're going to really deal with classical manhood, if you want to lay down in the bed and make babies, you want to be married. You know, in my opinion. I mean, every man got to make his own decisions and you got to live the consequences of your own choices. But secondly is a man's relationship with his wife. Why would you keep a girlfriend for 5, 10, 15 years? you've been with a woman a year and 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and you don't know that this is wife material. Why would you stay with a woman that's not wife material? And why would you not wife a woman that is? Let me say that one more time so the people in the back can understand. Why would you stay with a woman for 5, 10, 15 years that's not wife material? And then why would you not wife one that is wife material? It's amazing how we look over the quality of our women, and then when another man shows interest, then all of a sudden, we feeling it. And I ain't judging you. I've been there, done that. Almost gave my wife away. We ain't got her back real quick. I noticed somebody's asking, what about girlfriends? Of course, it matters how a man treats all women. However, there's no divine covenant between a man and his girlfriend. A man's relationship to his wife is absolutely vital. The relationship that truly impacts or impairs a man's future is his relationship with his wife. Notice I said it impacts or impairs his future. The quality of the woman you choose to walk alongside you is massively responsible for the kind of future you will enjoy or dread. You're not a wise man to try to make a wife out of a woman that's not aware of who she really is. It's something to think about. Now, what is a wife? Every woman is not a wife, yet all women have wife potential. However, all have not embraced the development process. A man must be capable of differentiating between those women who are conscious of their inner greatness and those who are not conscious. A woman must be aware of her inner greatness to manifest it. A wife is one who knows who she is and what she possesses. Genesis 2:18 says, and the Lord said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him an helpmeet. The first wife was defined by God as the man's help. A wife is the man's help. A wife is the man's soulmate. She is ordained by God to help him to manifest his potential. So that means, watch this, a man that is doing nothing does not need a wife, because a wife is designed to help a man to do something. And a man that's doing something is not a wise man that chooses a woman that can't help him to do what he's doing. A man who is struggling with insecurities and self-esteem issues is not a good candidate for a wife or for a husband. A wife is a grown, capable, and gifted woman reserved for a comparable man. She's a queen paired with a king. It is tragic to place a wife in the care of a man-child. Don't be a man-child, be a king. Okay, let me see. I got to hurry this along now. So your relationship with God, your relationship with your wife, and I'm skipping over a lot. You're going to get so much more out of the chapter. Number 3, a man's relationship with his children. And a man's relationship with his children starts with his relationship to their mother. So it doesn't matter that you and the mother may be at odds. You have to understand as a man that the way you handle your children's mother is going to leave a psychological imprint on your children for the rest of their lives. The single greatest thing a man may do for his children is to love their mother. Before kids hear anything you may say, I'm reading from the book, they are observing the interaction between you and the person they knew before they entered the world. They knew their mother from the womb. You cannot mistreat a child's mother and love the child properly. When you abuse your children's mother, you are directly abusing your children, and you are destroying the potential for a healthy and happy future with your children when they become adults. They may tolerate you, but they'll never have the kind of respect for you that they should have when they've observed you abuse their mother. A man must also be present in his children's lives. You can't just run around and never show up for your children. Come on now. Man, I was traveling all over the country, and my son was playing football. He played football, from a little child on up into college. And man, I would fly back from a place just to be at a game and then catch a late flight out to go back wherever I needed to be. It was just, but I was intent on being present. My children will never be able to look me in the eye and say to me, "You wasn't there. You wasn't, man, you got to be there." You see, you say, "Oh, but I pay for them," and you should. You got to show up financially. But let me tell you something. The mother of your children should respect your financial contributions. Your children don't have a clue about tuition and shoes and clothes and dance and football gear. They don't have a clue about the cost of that stuff. What they do care about is that when they look out in the audience, they see you. When they look up in the stands, they see you. And when they know that you jumped through all kinds of hoops to be there, I spent thousands and thousands of dollars just to be present. Because as a father, in my relationship with my children, I got to be present. Now, fathers provide an example of manhood for their sons, and they infuse self-esteem into their daughters. The princess needs the king's voice. The prince needs the king's praise. Did you hear that? The princess needs the king's voice. Baby, you're beautiful. Baby, you're beautiful. You're the most beautiful thing in the world. Daddy loves you. Your princess needs that from you. You have to learn as a man how to connect with your daughters emotionally. I know you love her, but you have to connect with her emotionally. You got to let her know you love her. Now, what the little prince needs, the little mini you, he needs your praise. Boy, you bad. You bad. My man, give me some. Number one, he needs your praise because he's living his life to do what? He's living his life to impress you. He wants his daddy around to be able to say, my man is he at top of the game. Come on now. He don't need you beating him down and criticizing him. He needs you to build him up. Because when you do that, you infuse what? You infuse confidence in him to go out and to take the world like the king he is. But he needs that from his daddy. It's cool to get it from his mama, but when his daddy says it, his chest pokes out. My pops is proud of me. My pops saw me run that touchdown. My pops loved my report card. My pops saw me hit the three-pointer. My pops was there when I played in the band. My pops is proud of me. Come on now. Use your social media to celebrate your children. Don't stop just putting all the liquor and cigars on social media. Put your children on social media sometime. Talk about how much you love your children, how proud you are of your son, how beautiful your daughter is. Let their mama be able, y'all may not be together, but let their mama be able to show them, look what your daddy said about you. You're preparing them for their future. See, what you do today with your daughter determines if she will walk like a queen tomorrow. What you do with your son today determines if he will have the consciousness of a king tomorrow. Another thing relative to our relationship to our kids, we must respect our children. Now, if you come out of a black religious culture like I come from, everything about beating them, that's the kind of stuff I would beat them, beat the life out you. You know what I mean? And God knows sometimes, we did some things that, yeah. But a lot of that stuff they could have really just had some serious conversation with us, and we would have got it together. You ain't got to just be jumping on your children all the time, never loving on them. You got to respect your children, man. Respect their opinion, listen to them. Don't cut them off. Don't tell them shut up, because You're diminishing them psychologically every time you tell them to shut up. It means that they never learn to speak up for themselves. And they have to learn that at home before you release them into the world. And so they need to have a pops that is a strong man. He's the enforcer. At the end of the day, he's going to have the last say, but he's going to at least hear me out. Let your children start telling you their position. Why do you think you need to do this? Why do you think you're right? And then let them have their say. And then if you disagree with them, tell them why you disagree with them and tell them why you're saying no. Or watch this. If it's really not that big of an issue, what you do is, if you still don't agree with it, you say, "No, I don't agree with it. But I'm going to let you make your choice right here," because you got to teach them to make decisions before you turn them loose. And you're going to have to live with the consequences. So we're going to see how this works out. And if it doesn't work out, we had this conversation. And so now what you're doing is you're not raising children, you're raising men and women. See, they may be 10 and 12, but you're raising a man. You're raising a woman. A part of that is respecting them and allowing them to have an opinion so that they find their voice while they're in your home before they leave your care. So that when they leave your care, they have a voice. That if your daughter runs into a man that is not treating her right, she's already found her voice. I don't agree with that. I'm not standing for that. My daddy didn't raise me like that. Why are you talking to me like this, sir? But see, that's your responsibility to train that as a man in your relationship with your children. And then number 4, and finally in this chapter, I talk about a man's relationship with spiritual authority. Every man, and I write this from the context of being a Christian and being a pastor. And I even have a pastor. I believe personally that every man needs a man. I believe that. Who are we going to be accountable to? You know, in that part of this chapter, if say you're not a person that's in a religious context, you're not in church or whatever, but every man needs a man that he's accountable to. That's what it boils down to. Somebody that's in tune to God, somebody that's living his life the right way, and will check you, and you have enough respect for him to allow him to check you. So that if you off base with your wife or your girlfriend or your children, this is the dude that can get you right. Because the Bible says that there's safety in the multitude of counsel. Now for me, I need, I need spiritual counsel because I have a lot of decisions to make and I have a lot of people that I'm responsible for. So I have to be submitted to somebody, a man that I have respect for. And every man needs that kind of relationship. It's bad to be out here living your life and nobody can see what you're posting on social media and call you and say, "Man, why'd you do that?" That's not wise. That's not helping your image. That could mess you up on your job. That could mess your career up. That could, you know how much stuff that I've put up on social media foolishly, and I had somebody to call me and say, "Man, take that down. That doesn't reflect who you are." In fact about it, people are going to misunderstand you if you leave that up there. All of us got to have that, bro. You got to have it. I got to have it. So a man should be led to lead. It's not who you're over, it's who you're under. And every man needs a relationship with a strong man who will bring out the best in him. I just kind of cherry picked through the chapter, but there it is, Kingology, man. That was chapter number 5. That was chapter number 5. I think I'm right. Yeah, chapter 5. Kings are intentional about their relationships. I pray you got something out of this. And what I need you to do for me before I go, I need every man, every dude that's watching this, I need you to send me an email at rcblakesministries@gmail.com, just saying yes if you would like to see me do what I'm getting ready to present. I'm thinking about doing an online, a one-day deal, because I know how we are as dudes. We have short attention spans. Thinking about doing a one-day Kingology cyber conference like I did Queenology. And we'll spend about 3-4 hours together. We'll have a break and all of that, so I can let you go and get your sandwich and everything, and then we'll come back. If that's something you're interested in, and what we'll do is in that cyber conference, we won't necessarily cover the content in the book, because honestly, if you search my channel, I've done about 4 chapters of this book already. We're going to go into some deeper stuff relative to manhood. We're going to go into some deeper stuff. And I would love to do it, but I just need to know that I have, if I can get 100 brothers that will hit me up and say, I'm in, I want to do it. Oh man, I promise you, it's on like Donkey Kong. But I need you to hit me up. I need you to email me at rcblakesministries at gmail.com. This is going to be an entire movement. It's going to be an entire movement. And I want you to be a part of it. Father, I thank you for every man that's on here. I thank you, God, for causing my words to sink into their heart and allow them, dear God, to be transformed by them. In Jesus' name, amen. Now listen, if you need counseling, there's a link in the description for BetterHelp Counseling. That's a group that we're partnered with, and I recommend you to them because they are proven and trusted. And if you need counseling, it's a beautiful thing to be able to do it over the phone or by way of the internet, especially in these times. So if you need that, go and follow the link. Also, don't forget to stop by Amazon, pick up the book, Kingology. As I said, the study guide is there as well. And make certain that you send me that email if it's something you think would, work for you. If we did a one-day cyber conference for the kings, I would love to do it, but I need to know that it's something you'd want to have done. So I love you. I thank God for you. Don't forget to sign up for my mailing list, rcblakes.com. Right on the front page, hit the button and sign up for my mailing list. I would love to have you in my email family, so that when I put stuff out, you'll be the first to know. And just know that I love you. Lisa and I love you. And you are a king. You were born to be a king. And that's who you are, my brother. I love you. I thank God for you. And I'll talk to you real soon. God bless you.